Welcome to another edition of the Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. All right, we're in the dangers of resilient mindset. The discussion is for today, and I want to talk about, how difficult. This is something that I've been experiencing in my life for a while. Very heavy here in 2021 with the COVID thing and everything going on, and when I left for vacation, it really hit me really hard for some weird reason, and it's very difficult. I really wanted to put out the show today because the further you go into such things as permaculture, resilient and sustainable living, you have to deal with the rest of the world. And you kind of look and say, these are some universal answers that can help everybody and everything. And yet we're existing in a world where others really don't care. And that's very difficult. And then you have to sit and witness these things. And I think the further you go down the rabbit hole with a lot of things that we have in our lives, I guess that's what's kind of hit me is when we came back from our vacation, I bought some flour tortillas. And I had those things sitting in my fridge for probably about 5 months. In fact, I still have the package in my fridge, and I'm just kind of waiting to see when is this stuff really going to mold or even start hardening up. And it still has not. We are in December right now of 2021. I came back in July, so that's pretty much a little over 5 months, and it's just incredible. There's fake sugar, there's fake salt, there's fake honey. We're down to baby wipes. It's ridiculous. You have to laugh, but it's pretty crazy when you start to go down the rabbit hole and start to see that everything, how sloppy, how messy, and how unsustainable things are. What do you do? How do you exist? So I want to try to get some of my thoughts out for myself, but I also want to try to help you guys to be able to cope with things and kind of give you guys an idea. Once you get over to the permaculture living, the sustainable resiliency of life, and start to see the miracle of nature and things that we can do that a lot of people don't know about, and you start to experience these things, it changes you, and it changes you forever. It's pretty much the Matrix. You take the other pill and you're not coming back. Or take the other one and you can just forget. Once you're in it, you're pretty much in it. It's very difficult to not see the logistics of things and say, wow, this is a really awesome thing. All right, so the very first thing I have is the urge to share such things as the permaculture miracle. And when you start to plant your own vegetables and things like that, you start to build hugelkultur mounds, and you start to do even research, things that you don't even do. But getting your feet wet is really awesome. I had the opportunity of 5 acres, and I kind of dug some swales, which are ditches and stuff like that, to hold water just to see how well these kind of things worked. I buried wood in the ground underneath mounds, which is called hugelkultur, and things like that. And just did a lot of experimentations, and it was really awesome. I started to watch where the rain was flowing on the property. How can I catch that rain? How can I design things? What would I do different? Actually experiencing on the 5 acres here in North County, San Diego of California, the property had a nice good slope, 5 acres, and it just gradually sloped down to a bottom area, which ended up being like a cup, like a bowl. There was an indentation in the land where the water you knew was going to sit in that area. And after a lot of rainfall, the stream of water, because we don't get that much here in San Diego, never made it down to that portion of the orchard. But what it did is it soaked down in the ground, and it slowly moved over the entire year. So what I experienced and what I experimented with was picking oranges and lemons at the top of the orchard and finding, without irrigation, finding in the summertime that they were just flat and just like they were crumbly. You bite into them, there was just maybe a drop of juice. They were just like a sponge. And with no irrigation, when you walk down to the bottom, you pick these limes and these lemons and they were just juicy. That's telling me that the water is running down all the way to that bottom section. Why is this even significant? Because water is super expensive and it's scarce here. We have drought problems. But the significance of this would mean that if I did want to produce fruit trees such as lemons and limes and oranges and things that take a lot of water, I wouldn't even have to irrigate in a place that barely gets any water. So these are significant things that we can do where we can manipulate, for lack of better words, or maybe better to say, help the land. If we dug ditches, right, like curbs and things out of the soil, and we've stopped that water from running completely off of our property, or we were able to divert it up on the top of the side of a hill so that it could drain at the areas that we want it to go. So all we're doing is helping nature, manipulating it, for, like I said, for lack of better words, and getting results. So when we have these things, we want to tell people, hey, the limes on my property are growing without irrigation. They're looking going, so what? Have you guys ever tried new things? Like, once I had children, I started practicing a lot of holistic things. They have an earache or something. Can I put some essential oils in their ears to see if it works? Look at that. Didn't work. Can I use hydrogen peroxide? Whoa, that worked. Oh, wow, that's amazing. I've got some where a friend of mine showed me I had like this bone spur on the side of my foot. It hurt a lot. I work in construction, roofing construction mostly. And he told me, just put some apple cider vinegar on a piece of cardboard and just stick it in your shoe like an insert. Do this for like 3 days and the thing will most likely be gone. Sure enough, it was gone. And then somebody ever complained, I've got these things locked and loaded in the chambers, ready to go. If somebody ever complains about a bone spur on their foot, I'm like, hey, try this out. I'm excited. It feels good to help people. But that's not kind of what the majority is into. And I think that getting into permaculture, if you listen to some podcasts and stuff like that, it actually ruins relationships. I think the resilient mindset actually separates you from society sometimes, and also in a relationship that you have with your significant other. There may be that you look and say, hey, I don't want to use fake sugar anymore or fake honey, and I want to grow my own food, and I want to, produce my own energy, and I want to save money, and I want to live a resilient life. I want to cut back on all these things. They don't really mean, but it could mean something to them where they're the lifestyle of going out and being, I guess I'll just say it, being wasteful, going to movies, buying things you don't need, getting things prepackaged in styrofoam, like buying a package that's got full of styrofoam doesn't even bother them one bit. They're not even aware or don't care to be aware to know that I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of years it takes for that foam, the styrofoam, to biodegrade. Why are we supporting these kind of things? It bothers you. You're in that mindset of like, this is not sustainable. This is not resilient. This is stupid, right? And it becomes a big deal when it's not a big deal to the majorities. So that's what we have. My next note here is the rules of the majority. The rules of the majority is that they want things predictable. They want square fencing, right? Everything to be nice and sharp, clean lines. People get angry even when you're driving down a squiggly road. They had to follow the contour of the land. But look how much easier things are when you're in the city. Everything's just nice and straight, premeditated, pre-planned, very simple. You don't have to think, right? And it's just, everything's got sharp corners, and you don't have to really sway and dodge around. Whereas in nature, we have this disruption of patterns of sounds and smells and life and death and birth and all kinds of different things happening, colors and contrasts. And it keeps the mind, in my opinion, it keeps you sharp, it keeps you wondering, and it keeps the magic in life. Those of you who've never probably had the opportunity, when you go up hiking, I used to live in the mountains, and I wanted to find out where the stream, the stream was coming from. Where's the spring? How come this water's falling year round? You get to one end, you find a little waterfall, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And it gets addictive where you start to want to go, well, I wonder what's around the next bend and the next bend. And you keep going. Next thing you know, you find yourself about 5 miles up the mountain, just searching out of curiosity. But the rules of the majority, I think, is a very dangerous place for resilient living people. Because in some cases, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, you become the enemy. Because a lot of the things that we want to do is bust up the dam so we can release that water so the fish have a place to go, so that we can have beauty back to where the trees and everybody needs, instead of damming up the river for us to produce electricity, which in turn, when you look at it, the amount of wastefulness and stuff that we have and the things that we're doing to disrupt nature instead of working with it, it's just that. It's destructive. It's disruptive. So they want to keep doing these type of things, people. They want to live this life. They've chosen it, and they don't want to get dirty. And the rules of the majority is that if you step in our way, we're going to eliminate you. How dare you think outside of the box? We have this in our public education system where, there's a certain curriculum. And if too many people are asking questions and too many people are challenging it, we have a problem. We don't have enough time for this sort of thing, for you to form your opinions and things like that. So the rules of the majority, from what I found, is it's best to just keep things to yourself, or be more selective on who you want to talk about with these things, to go and search for people. That's probably one of the main things that I look at with the show, is actually creating a community of people, even if it's online, where these things can be discussed. These things can be added to. We can brainstorm. We can all work together to come up with ideas and plans and new things, new formats, new inventions of things. And the dangers of a resilient mindset too is when we get to this sort of place, it can get lonely. Now I live my own life. I practice what I preach. I don't really feel the need to be with a bunch of people, but I have to say, meaning that a lot of people can't be by themselves. I can't wait to be by myself. I love to sit and think, to do mind experiments and create things, do creative visualization. I'm constantly dreaming up ideas, constantly working on things. And, I personally have not been in a relationship in over probably about 5 years now, and I don't really plan on doing it. I've got too much. But I also, talking about the rules of majority, I also know that I'm an outsider. The things that I'm into, I don't watch TV, guys. I don't waste my time with movies, with books, like fantasy books and things like that. I'm constantly into educating myself and creating my life the way I want. And that's my thing, and that's great. I have no right to go and point the finger and say that somebody else's life is wrong. I don't really care to do that. But there is a certain element I could see where people get lonely, because when you are welled up with excitement and you see something that actually works and you get great results, and you can't find anybody to share it with, or you've got this invention or these things, and you go, hey guys, we can live a lot better life. I think that's why I do the show. I see a lot of people around me that are struggling, with money and happiness and things and stress and all these different things. And I look and I talk to them to try to extract why are you experiencing these type of things. And I look and I say, well, I hope that I could be a friend indirectly and talk as I'm talking now, to share whatever ideas that I have. And it feels wonderful. Doing a podcast is, I have to say, is probably one of my favorite things to do in life. I don't see myself ever quitting, maybe slowing down if the message never gets heard out there. But yeah, I'm fully excited to share resilient living, sustainability, permaculture, all of these type of things, to just, if I changed one life, I've won the lottery right there. But we have to deal with the majorities. And, I found myself at parties and gatherings and stuff like that. And, I'm known for that type of person, the holistic guy, the guy likes to grow food and things. So there's a lot of conversations of whether Del Taco came before Taco Bell and stuff like that. And it makes me want to literally jump off a large object someplace and I just want to go hide. I'm like, please, I don't want to hear these type of things. But equally, the majority don't want to hear the things that I have to say. They think it's completely ridiculous. So you have to move forward. And another one that's happened to me coming back from my trip this year, I guess I didn't finish that story. We were gone in the woods for about a month, and we had a lot of cool people bringing us firewood and all kinds of food, and we traded. And granted, it's a vacation, so everybody's on, happy dopamine behavior. But when you're out in the wilderness, a lot of the people that we met were from inland that lived in the forest and stuff. These are farmers, and these people have a very strong sense of decency and community. Do I agree with all of their lifestyle choices and things that they're doing? No. But there's this camaraderie and this wonderfulness. And actually, a lot of those people were pretty clean in the camp areas where we go to. They understand that if we all just dumped our styrofoam cups, from drinking coffee and everything, we would ruin this place. So they actually leave it cleaner than the way they found it. A lot of people hauling garbage, you ask them, they're like, oh yeah, man, leave it better the way you found it. Good people. And just being in that environment where there was no trash. Again, it might be just my mindset at the time. It took me this long to get over it. But driving home, the closer and closer we get to the city, you start to see all the trash on the side of the highway. You get into a major city, to go get supplies, and you see the homeless people out there, sleeping on the sidewalk with a bunch of trash around them. And you see the rich equally just as disturbing, the rich people with their nose up in the air driving their BMWs like they're the hot ticket, and just cutting people off. I'm more important, and just the energy and the smell of the city. It's just, there's money in the gutter. Where in the world could you go where there's literally money laying on the floor? Granted, it's just like probably $1 and change I saw at the freeway exit, but just fascinating, amazingly disgusting at the same time, where people are starving in other parts of the world in total disregard. And this is what brings me into, and I don't want to get too negative here, but we're going to talk about, we'll try to brighten this up. But it occurred to me what a true monster really is, and that's what I call the majority of humanity. A true monster is something that doesn't have horns and a devil tongue and demon eyes, and you just look at it and it looks like Freddy Krueger or some sort of horror movie creature where you're like, oh my goodness, that thing could kill me. That thing's terrifying. A true monster is something that looks completely peaceful. You look at it, it's got soft skin and soft eyes, and it moves around. In fact, it's fragile itself. But it is one of the most evilest things on the planet because it will literally dump trash out its window, destroy its environment slowly like cancer. It's a human being. It's a human being. We can bring out facts that, there's sneakers, shoes being made by little children being paid slave labor, working themselves to death to produce those sneakers for you, those shoes. And you buy them knowing this and say, well, what can I do? But yet you don't understand. Maybe you do understand that you vote with your dollar, right? But you just don't really care. And you don't care about these children. I think until you actually go to a third world country and see what exactly is going on with this capitalistic, businesses that we have going on. So there's a lot of ugly stuff. There's the life called the end of the drain pipe is what my philosophy I try to teach my kids is when you flush the toilet, metaphorically speaking, nobody sees where that goes. When you wash your hands of filth or your dishes, it goes down a drain and then just goes to some place where we don't have to deal with that anymore. That's what we have by our purchasing. Our meat is being brought in styrofoam packaging to animals that are being slaughtered in a very, very ugly way. Also for veganisms, I think, vegans, the amount of grains and things that are grown in a field. I'm just going to finish off and then we'll stop being negative here. But it is said that the combine machines that harvest the soy and the wheat and things like that, that a deer, when it leaves, and this may be pretty harsh for some of you guys, when a deer leaves its baby, it'll just wait there for the mom. So as the combine's going, sometimes they'll scoop up a baby deer in that combine, and I think we all know what happens. It's very sad. And what the fences that are blocking off other animals from getting in. If you have elk and deer and stuff, wild pigs, they need to separate. Otherwise, they'll come in and decimate the crops. I understand why, but we have certain situations such as Mark Shepherd with New Forest Farms where he has no fences and he's doing 100+ acres, and the deer come in and they still harvest a bunch of nuts and plants in harmony with nature. They're proving that it could be done. But the damage that we are doing as monsters on just the simple thing of producing our own food, our own vegetables, our own meats, it's insane. Now I'm not vegan and I'm not pro meat. I'm doing the best that I can to eat grass-fed beef and things like. And I still buy from the grocery store too, guys. I try to buy all 100% organic for my kids, but we're not quite there. I think we're like probably 85%, 90%. But I pay for these things too. But that's what brings the sorrow in my heart. But I need to understand that I can't fix everything. And I don't want to feel like a true monster because I know that I'm not. I'm trying to do new things. And this is what scares me, especially for the younger people, is once they get into these type of things and start to really dig for the truth. Really dig. Not Mickey Mouse action, and unbiasedly go in and look at both sides. And what you find sometimes that both sides have equally a strong point. It's really good information. You become lost. You don't know what to do. But you start to realize a lot of the things that you're doing in your life are contributing to bad things, bad practices, and destroying the earth. And I think that we need to offset those things, and we're going to talk about that. But what we need to understand is there's in order to observe the practices of constant waste around you, you just have to realize that this is the way things are. And the best thing that we can do is live by example. And what we need to do is we need to understand there's a separation gap in society. You are you, we are we, they are they. We do the things that we feel comfortable and happy doing. They do the things that the majority, unfortunately, are going to keep doing these things. And the one thing, and this may sound bad, and I kind of don't know how to deal with this too, is in my book, it's never going to change. In fact, it's been getting worse. We got all this packaging from Amazon deliveries, cardboard boxes and stuff. Where do those cardboard boxes come from? They come from the forest, from trees being cut down. All the paper and things like that. We do have some advancements, I think, that are happening, with the internet to try to look for the positives. Like, to me, sending emails, is that less mail? There's less gas involved. Sure, it's on the opposite coin. It takes away a job from somebody if everybody stopped doing it. But through electronics, we can send signed documents and things, and we no longer need to use so much paper, right? We can just sign that one document in ink, both of us, when we meet. And that will lock us into law and things like that. But we can literally e-sign things now, and that's a positive. So there's many things that we are doing and many things that we're not. You just have to choose how your mindset flows into this. So yeah, it could be a very scary and grotesque place to live in. And I think that we need to give forgiveness and empathy, that a lot of people are trying their hardest. And even for ourselves, I think that's probably my biggest one. One of my analogies is the paper plate method. I'm a single father, special needs kid. I own my own business, and I'm running around, and doing roofing construction is very laborious, and it's hard. I started saving all the jars and things, putting everything in glass mason jars, which I still do. And I started using Ziploc bags, and I started using paper plates. The things I do very wasteful in my home is paper plates, paper bowls, and Ziploc bags. It came to the point where I would put everything in Tupperware, everything in mason jars, and I'd have to wash it. I'd have a sink full of dishes and things, and I was literally killing myself. By the time I got home, I'd wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, get my podcast off and running, get to my job, do my work for 8 hours, go get my kids, come home, make dinner, clean everything up, clean the house out. Maybe there was an accident here. We got to clean the mess up. Something broke, get dinner. And I was killing myself. And I said, how can I get myself out of this? So the positive, which we may think is a negative, was to actually utilize the system against itself. One of my philosophies is watch the monster, how it works. This evilness of corporations and things like that. Our society. Why does society use paper plates? Because they're lazy. They don't want to wash dishes. Or in my case, they're so busy, they're just like, I can't do it, right? I don't want to use paper plates for the rest of my life. But what I've devised in my mind, and this is a philosophy I would like for people who are disturbed living the permaculture dream and sustainability and wanting to get there, is use this philosophy of the paper plate method. Sure, it's just a few plates. It's one less thing that I have to do. My food I put in the Ziplocs, and I'm creating waste and garbage and pollution. But I'm utilizing that system to get off of it forever. Because what I find is that we try to do good things, right? Like you try to exercise. And you get up and you do it. You're doing it for a month, and next thing you know, it's a rainy day, and you got busy, you got sick, and for some reason you didn't go, and you're like, oh, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. And then next thing you know, you forget. And then you start feeling really bad about yourself. If you're a person like myself who likes to be, to have a strict regiment, right? To be, what's the word I'm looking for? This word always gets me. To have discipline. There we go. And then you start to hate yourself or be angry at yourself. Like, dang it, I always screw things up, and you feel bad. To me, let's get in. If we're in the system, let's utilize the system to get out, but get out forever. And then work on, like I'm doing. I hope that I'm helping people to to lessen their load, their mental load, and their emotional load, and their physical damage to the earth by sharing tips. Now that I'm moving away from those type of things, I've got the time to figure out, how do I get out of here, and how do I share that with others? That's very powerful. Now we have to where others who are so busy, and those who the majorities who want to do good, the little few that look and say, I want to make a difference, I'm just too busy. And it reminds me of the farmer's market. Why would somebody go to the farmer's market when they can go to the grocery store and pick up everything they need? Meaning that the problem we have in society is everybody's busy. So they'll go to support their local food growers to make themselves feel good and the people, and to actually donate, right? And it's a great thing. But they go up and hold 2 little baskets of produce and say, look, I'm supporting my local farmers, which for the farmers is hardly anything, right? It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dogging it. But when a lot of people would rather go and get the same produce, which I don't think it's going to be the same flavor and nutrition value and everything, but they're going to go there and pick up cooking oil, and say they're going to go to Devil Mart, Walmart, and they're going to pick up a flannel and a pillow and some brake fluid and and a pond net, I don't know, and all your groceries, and get everything all at once. It's so convenient instead of going to 5 different places. So where we have people like Mark Shepherd and New Forest Farm, where they have semi-trucks showing up at his farm and they're loading that thing full of crates. There's already a distribution system going on. He has the same philosophy as I do, where why would we want to reinvent things when we can help? How can we utilize what we have? So yes, there's a lot of fossil fuels for that diesel truck to get there, but that organic food offsets a lot of that Mr. Mark Shepherd's growing, and it doesn't disturb the frogs. It doesn't disturb the deer and the animals running around. There's no really much death at all to nature to create that food that's being shipped to those grocery stores. And it's Organic Valley, if you guys are interested at all. And I know none of you will ever be farmers, but the inspiration of such people as Mark Shepherd's work, New Forest Farm, is nice to know about. That's the kind of stuff, on news we should have in our lives. I'd like to possibly, if you guys are interested, it would be a lot of work on my end, but there's an email below in the description. I would like to do it like a newscasting was an idea I had for the show. We're going off here for a minute, if you don't mind. And one thing I thought of is all the ugliness and crap that we have on the news. You're always fed negativity and all this drama and all this stuff. Where is it that we could find some good stuff? So I thought, what if I was able to share maybe, say, 3 things of permaculture and natural farming and, resilient living, sustainable living, things that actual people are doing to stay up on it, maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks or something. Let me know what you guys think. I could try to drum up a show like that just to give you guys kind of like a newscast. Like, one of the things that really blew my mind was Sepp Holzer about 2 years ago, I think it was. He actually experimented and made this new thing called a Spring Terrace, is what they're calling it. And it was in a place where there's hardly any rain in Austria. People told him he's crazy, it's not going to work. He invented this pipe system that goes inside the ground with gravel and straw, and he created a spring that flows, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, year round. Trees are growing around the area and everything, and it's getting better and better, and the area is greening up. Basically like Jeff Lawton greening the desert, taking a place that was completely dead and dry with nothing living on it for decades. They take a little bit of dirty wastewater, start planting some brush and things, and then having this thing turn into its own ecosystem. Willie Smith's planting enough forest that actually brought the rain back to the region. The man made it rain, people. If that don't get you, I don't know what will. But yeah, I thought that might be cool. And to get back to our subject matter here, is that's the self-fulfillment and the beauty that comes with all of it. When you recede back into yourself, and I really think that's what we need to do. We need to recede from the majorities. That's my life plan, is to possibly do something with other people on a piece of land, or do it myself, get to a place where there's plenty of water, and a place where I can just exist, making my own moccasins and things, doing the things that are important to me, but not having to witness the monstrosity, I would say, that's going on around me, to be able to focus and be happy on all the insects and animals and wildlife and the trees and biology, and having other people around that are positive and creative and really do care about these things. 'Cause I really think we're all butting heads. That's what coronavirus has taught me, is a lot of family members are fighting. There's divorces happening over these type of things, of your decision to jab or not to jab. I mean, this is crazy. And I understand that's why we never talk about politics or religion on this show, because some of those things are humanity. It causes war. It causes fights. It causes damage. And if we could all separate it, in the words of Toby Hemingway, the permaculturalist, we all agree on the 90%, but yet we focus on the 10%. I think this even goes into ourselves. We have 10%, just a small fraction of something that's separating us all from each other. Instead of having self-fulfillment, beauty in your life, and focusing on that 90%, that little 10% always seems to be the speed bump or the hurdle that we have to get over. And it does not make sense, at least in my book. Guys, we need to start living a more resilient life. We need to change things for the better. There's a lot of good stuff happening out there. There's not just the bad. But once you see the good, you're going to have to learn how to cope with the bad, with the people who just don't care. It becomes, you'll see them as monsters. You will see them as ugly things. Why would when you see someone just throw a McDonald's bag out the window, and you're just like, oh, how could you do that? Very bad thoughts come in my mind. But I know that, you know what? I have to share this place. But as a quote from the Bible, which I rarely ever do, is don't cast your pearls before swine. That's one. There's a lot of good sayings in the book. And to me, take that. Let's go let's go gather our pearls together instead of casting them before the swine that just look at them and say, that's, and they just want to live in their own dirt. Let's get away from the negativity, though, guys. It is one of the most positive things, I would say, when you have self-fulfillment and you live the life that I do, because most people are unhappy, mean to each other, because they're not exposed to the beauty that we have going on around us right now. Many men and women doing the most awesome things never even imaginable. And what the beauty of it is self-fulfilled people, self-thinking people that are out of the box start to contribute. They see these things happening. We have these brilliant people like Elon Musk, but they're not creating technology. They're looking at all the work that their forefathers and foremothers did, if foremothers is even a word, and they're looking going, I get it, I see it, but I've never seen this. I'm going to combine all these things and we're going to make something happen there. And also they create a whole new thing and everything starts to build. And the more and more we do this and live by example, I think it's really easy that people would see as, how are these people getting by with hardly anything? They look healthy, they're thin, they're dancing, they're joyful, they don't have to work every single day like in a cubicle. How is that even possible? I didn't even know anything like that existed. What is going on over here? And the flavor of that food, that mango, I've never thought I tasted a mango until I tasted the mango from how these people grow these things. And look at the waterfalls and the greenery around. Place that we need to green the desert of the self, of our society, on the earth that we live on, our spirituality, our happiness. We are in debt to ourselves to green up that desert. And sometimes all it takes is one little thing, one little message to divert you from the ugly ways right into the oasis, to find that pond of palm trees and date palms and things around in the middle of a desert, where there's this oasis of beauty that exists inside each and every one of us. So guys, that's the show. If I brought you guys any value, please like and subscribe. Help me share this show, please. It's a lot of work to do. Like, subscribe. If you think that I'm something's wrong, give me a thumbs down, but tell me why. And I'd love to hear your opinion on it. And if you guys want to reach me, you guys, there's Resilientlpodcast at gmail.com. You guys can send me some comments or comment on this show, whichever platform you're hearing it on. And let me know what you guys want to hear about, and I'll design something for you. Let me know about that positive, maybe like permaculture, holistic news. Maybe I can come up with some interesting stuff for you guys every week. All right, go out there and have yourself a near life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire and human up, my friends.